All right, ladies, as you guys know, mobile gaming, it is on the rise, but many will say that in many things, it is actually probably dying. So let's go here and check this video, which is very, very interesting. The soulless dead.
You ever look at this
gaming.
and think, man, I wish I could do that, but on the go? Yeah, this is probably better. When you hear the term mobile gaming, you probably think of those quick, bite-sized games you play on your phone.
Yep.
I guess it could also mean something like this, but that's not what we're talking about
That's
today.
portable
Everyone
gaming.
has played a mobile game at some point in their lives, whether it be a game specifically made for a touchscreen, a console game ported to phone, or even one of those text message games. And I, along with many others, have very fond memories of the games we played as a kid. However, if you've played mobile games as of late, you've probably noticed that they just don't feel the same anymore. And I'm not just talking from a place of nostalgia. If you compare an older mobile game to a newer one, you'd think that this game is from 2013 and this from 2025, but
I think it's, do you guys think it's because they are trying to make mobile games like the same way as console games and PC games are? I think also another aspect, it is the amount of pay to win that they exist. And mainly these games here, the only reason they had was they just want to make like fun games and with a lot of replayability, so they could have like those Google ads at the top and the bottom. So the pay to win system, like it was not as like developed like in the early days. So a perfect example was like Flappy Bird back in the day.
no, it's the other way around. And it's not that there's just a couple of bad games. It feels like the vast majority of what is being released today looks like, I don't know, this.
Solve the equation.
So you see, look at the ad here in the bottom. That's what I was saying.
I don't think I'm alone in saying that mobile games today just feel so forgettable. If you were held at gunpoint and asked to name a mobile game released in the past 3 years, your best chance at survival would be naming a random object with .io at the end. But despite everyone almost unanimously agreeing that mobile games today are worse, it seems like no one really knows why. Sure, it's easy just to blame it on the absurd amount of ads these games have or their terrible visuals, but the games everyone seems to point to as the good mobile games also had ads and they didn't always have the best visuals. So clearly something else is causing this change, and I want to get to the bottom of it. But in order to truly figure out what is going on here, we need to travel back in time to the very beginning of mobile gaming. June 29th, 2007 is the day the first iPhone was released, and from this point forward, the smartphone game market would never be the same, as in the market didn't exist before this point. There were a few attempts at phone games prior to the invention of smartphones, but those looked like, well, this.
By the way, this was the GOAT. So many hours.
With the introduction of the
iPhone
came the App Store, and as much as we take it for granted today, this was a huge step for the future of mobile gaming. The App Store allowed for third-party developers to make iPhone apps easily accessible to people using an iPhone, which wasn't really possible on older phones. And this was a big deal, not just for the large gaming developers, but for anyone who was interested in making a game. Me? Never before was it this easy for a game developer to make a game and instantly have it in the eyes of people using the exact device their game is for. And because of this, we enter into what I'm going to call the golden age of mobile gaming. This is the era of mobile gaming I think most people are nostalgic for. You got your Angry Birds, Cut the Rope, Subway Surfers, Jetpack Joyride. And what made the App Store so unique is a majority of the most popular games on this thing were made by small independent developers.
Now half of the App Store, it is like a dress me up gaming or like gacha games.
Contrary to what you would expect, a majority of the biggest mobile game franchises of all time were made by independent teams of less than 10 people, sometimes even a single person. Angry Birds, ever heard of that game before? It was made by 7 people and became one of the largest franchises, not just in mobile gaming, but of all time. It's not that major gaming companies weren't interested in mobile gaming, heck, they'd be stupid not to dip their toes into it. It's a device that can be carried around with you anywhere, and more people owned one than a video game console, so why wouldn't we make Resident Evil Mobile Edition?
What?
This was a mistake. Yeah, most major gaming companies just saw mobile gaming as another medium for them to sell their console games. While small indie studios worked on games specifically made for the iPhone's hardware, the larger companies fell behind as console ports to phone just weren't very appealing. I mean, if you take Mega Man for mobile and put it next to Cut the Rope, you'd look at this and think, yeah, I'd want to play that on a phone, and this and think, oh, I'd rather play this on anything but a phone. Large developers just didn't seem to understand what it is that makes mobile gaming appealing. It's not the fact that you can play a game anywhere, it's the fact that you can play a game that was made to be played anywhere, anywhere. So because of this, independent developers picked up the steam. They crafted games that felt intuitive to play, taking advantage of the iPhone's touchscreen. Angry Birds had you pulling back on a slingshot, Where's My Water carving a path through dirt, and Cut the Rope.
I actually never played like these two. I played a lot of Angry Birds, of course.
You literally cut the rope. All these being things that weren't possible on a traditional gaming controller, and it really looked promising for the future of mobile gaming. In fact, there was a period of time when people thought that console gaming was going to become completely irrelevant due to the popularity of mobile gaming. New innovative games were releasing left and right, and it seemed like nothing could stop mobile gaming, until it didn't.
Down the hatch. Oh my god, our mouth is getting so big, we're swallowing the city.
This whole IO, and it's one of the most addictive mobile games.
Around 2011 to 2013 is when the first cracks in the mobile gaming market started to form, and you might not believe me when I say this, but a lot of it had to do with money. When mobile gaming first hit the market, the idea of creating a free-to-play game was unfathomable. You spent months, maybe years pouring your heart and soul into a game just to release it for free? How am I supposed to make money? In-app purchases weren't a thing before 2009, so for the early years of mobile gaming, most games were a one-time purchase, meaning you bought the game and that was it. Because of this, most early mobile games, at least the level-based ones, followed the design philosophy of full-release console games. You play through a series of levels, slowly increasing in difficulty, and face challenges that can be hard to figure out but feel fair and rewarding when you finally do figure them out. And with developers only worried about selling their game once, their effort went into crafting a genuinely fun experience for the player through and through, focusing solely on the game's mechanics because that's all that people cared about. But this all changed in 2009 when Apple introduced in-app purchases to the App Store. Now in the beginning, I actually think in-app
microtransactions, boys. This is where it all went to shit. Literally. Microtransactions, they are a plague. They are everywhere from mobile, like started on mobile, now it is literally everywhere.
Purchases were very healthy for mobile gaming and even benefited the consumer in many ways. This might be a controversial take here, but people like things that are free. And although these paid games sold very well, there was still an untapped potential into the market of users who only downloaded free games. And so once in-app purchases were added to the App Store, many games experimented with the idea of freemium experiences. Basically, you could download the game for free, but only a certain amount of the game was available to you before you had to pay to unlock the rest. And this right here is the healthiest state I think mobile gaming has ever been in. It was a win-win scenario for everyone. You could download a game for free without the risk of paying for something you ended up not liking, and if you did end up buying the full game, the developers would make their money without having to shove a million ads in your face. Or some games would even opt to having their whole game be available for free, the only caveat being you would have to deal with ads. But if you wanted to pay a little extra money, you could remove the
nowadays I cannot like really deal with those games. There are games that is like, you can play for free, but then if you watch this ad you get like 50 rubies, or if you watch this ad you get like 50 gold. Like it's like I just can't. As soon as I see a game that is free to play and it has like those, I have to watch an ad to get like a currency, I instantly delete
ads entirely and have an uninterrupted experience. Both are very consumer-friendly practices that only help to increase the accessibility of these games. And if you did decide to pay, what you were paying for was the game itself. But as with all good things in life, this didn't last long. Developers quickly realized that if we can charge people to unlock levels, why can't they also pay to get coins? Or to make the level easier? Or to gamble?
The Gamba boys.
And slowly these apps morphed from trying to sell you on the game itself to trying to figure out how they could design their game to include as many in-app purchases as humanly possible. And there is no better example of this than quite possibly the most popular mobile gaming franchise of all time, Angry Birds. Everyone knows Angry Birds. You launch your birds from a slingshot to knock down the pig's towers, and you score points at the end of each level trying to get a perfect 3 stars. It's a great evolution of the crush the castle formula. However, as the years went on, you can see a noticeable shift in the direction these games took. The early Angry Birds games were all designed with the core purpose of being a fun time. You'd progress through levels that utilize the game's unique mechanics in cool and interesting ways, and although the levels would get difficult, they ultimately were puzzles that were meant for you to solve, and the series became beloved because of it. Eventually though, people got tired of the same old formula, so Rovio needed to pivot. They made a few spin-off titles that to this day are still really good games, if they were still in the App Store, but the franchise started to struggle financially. They went from making a lot of money to making a lot of money, but now a little less. And so with their next game, they need...
And the problem also like with the with the model of like I buy the game and then I don't have any other purchase inside. It's like once this game became so popular, almost everyone became a customer. Like they bought the game. Then there's a cap to the market that these games could actually go and keep expanding. So that's one of the reasons why by introducing things like the battle pass, like buying like if you have a builder and you can skip the time or you buy the diamonds, it just gives like some extra like income to these games continuously.
Is to do something big, and that something big was making a casino for toddlers. Angry Birds 2 hit the scene in 2015, and you can instantly tell with this game that something about the whole thing is just off. The original Angry Birds was a game where you would launch funny birds at a tower, but now you have gems that can be used to buy chests. There's a card tower that essentially is just a gambling game, and if you lose, you can continue with gems. There's these pearls which you use to buy hats for your birds that can make them more powerful, but you also use gems to spin this wheel of chance that might give you more pearls. There's a daily event that if you lose, you have to spend gems to continue, a battle pass, loot boxes, offers popping up on your screen every 5 seconds, cooldowns galore, and even the main menu of this game is basically all places for you to spend your money, with the actual levels being crammed into the corner here. And once you do get into the main game, it's even worse. This game uses a card system for your birds, which on paper is an interesting idea. It allows you to choose which bird you want to play next, and if done properly, it could add a ton of strategy to the game's simple formula. But they don't do any of that, and it's very clear the only reason this card system is in place is to entice you into spending money. These levels are purposefully designed to just be slightly too long or slightly too hard for the amount of cards you have, and when you run out, you can always spend some gems or watch an ad to get a few more. And this—
oh my god, this is exactly what I was talking about. This is like literally the biggest cancer that came to mobile was this here. Like, you don't have more you don't have more turns. Oh, don't worry, just watch this ad. Just